Yeah, they find you for that.
No, he didn't find me. I was just making a joke. He didn't
Have
find me.
fun. Later.
Right there. I've never stopped by them.
Yeah, I mean, who stops? Like, he just comes over. He's like, you didn't come to a complete stop on that. So this is just a heads up. If I could see your ID, you go. He's like, is this a valid address? You go to school at BD? I'm like, no, I go to school at Toledo. Oh, okay. I'll be back. And I was thinking, like,
Okay, well, welcome. First of all, I want to just go over the syllabus and what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to, the one thing I want you to do is if sometimes I'm not clear what's on your screen. So if something looks weird, just shout out and catch my attention. I'm going to share my computer screen, and that's the biggest area that it happens is when I think I'm sharing a computer screen and I'm not. Okay, you should have in front of you the Blackboard. And I'm just going to start here. Let's look at the syllabus. Okay, you should have in front of you the syllabus. There's my contact information. We'll contact it by email. If you do contact me in the subject heading, put FE review class or something like that. The student outcomes. The student outcome is I want you to pass this exam. The best way to pass the exam is you doing your own preparation to help entice you to do that. I have a little schedule here. We'll have 5 points just for scheduling your exam, and you should have a something on the Blackboard telling you that this is due shortly. And I just want you to get going on this. We had some problems last year when I taught the class in that people waited until March or April to schedule, and then a lot of the positions, the scheduled positions, at least in Maumee, were full. So I want you to get on that real fast. Now, if there's somebody who's absolutely broke right now and can't afford to schedule this right now, let me know. I don't want to dock you points because you're broke, but let me know and we'll work something out. And then I want weekly effort reports, and that's self-explanatory on Blackboard. But each week, I want you to just report how many times or how many hours during that last week you worked. I want somewhere around 8 hours a week, at least. So that's 45 points. If you pass the exam prior to 427, you have 90 points. If you can pass it prior to the 3rd of May, you have 75 points. So looking at this, let's look down here. To get an A, you need 95 points. So really, all you need to do to get an A in this class is sign up for the exam before whatever the due date was. It's about a week from now. I can't remember the exact date. And pass the exam before the end of April, and you have an A in the class. That's it. It's as easy as that. You get more and more points as you pass it later and later. You can go into the summer. If that's the case, you'll need to get an I grade, an incomplete grade. The problem with an I grade is it might mess up some scholarships, but probably that doesn't matter that much to you. But if you don't, you just leave an I, and for a year, I think it's a year, then it turns into an F. I'm not sure on that year. It may be a year or a semester. I'm not sure. You'd want to look. if you fail the FE exam, I want you to turn in your diagnostic report. And I give an example on Blackboard of what the diagnostic report looks like. And you'll get 15 points. Now, so failing the exam, if you do all of this, that'd be 45 points, plus 15 is 60 points. That would put you up with a D. So you could get a D in this class and still fail the exam. Now, if you fail it the first time, that's fine. You could get information as far as how well you did. But as long as you can, and then you can ask me for an incomplete if you don't have it passed by this time. You can ask me for an incomplete, and you can take extra time to pass it. Not everybody passes it on their first try, but you do get useful information if you do fail it. So I'm going to go in now. Well, any questions on this, on the grading scale? No, basically, sign up for it on time and pass it before 4:27, and you have an A in the class. But you can pass the exam or pass this class even if you fail the exam. You're not going to get a good grade, but you can pass it as long as you're trying hard by putting in the effort here, signing up for it early, and then turning in your diagnostic report. And I'll show you what those are in just a minute. So let's go to that. So I want you to schedule your exam. Let's look at what the date on that is. It is due the 21st. So I want you to sign up for the exam by the 21st. Let's see, weekly progress reports. I just want you to turn in a PDF, a paper that's going to get longer and longer and longer. And each week it'll be just have an additional line. First week on my honor, but put your name in there. Spend at least, and then you keep track of your hours. You don't have to be precise, but this is an honor system. And try to give me your best estimate of how long you spent preparing. And preparing can include paying, conversations or time that you spent signing up, etc. But it's just preparing for the exam. And each week it'll be a little bit different. I wanted to average about 8 hours a week. Again, if you could pass the exam, you don't even have to turn these in. And each week it's going to get longer and longer with what you had before, and you just keep turning it into the same site. And at the end of the semester, we'll have 15 or so weeks on there with how many hours you spent. It is on the honor, but I expect you to be honest. And as far as your estimate, this is your best guess on your honor as how many hours you spent on it. Any questions on this, on the weekly progress reports? Okay, should you pass, and I hope that that's the case, I want you to just send in or make a PDF of the past report. I'm going to show you what that looks like. This is just for a student who passed. I crossed the name out and some identifying information there. Not that they would be bothered if they knew they knew that they passed. I guess I left their picture in there, but you'll get something like this that just says you pass. They don't tell you how well you did. They just say passed. And because it really doesn't matter if you get a super score or if you get the lowest possible pass score, you pass. So this is just an example of what I want you to make into a PDF and then upload that. And then you get, if you do that before, what was it, April 27th, you get 75 points and then, or excuse me, 90 points. And then if you do it by May, I think it was 3rd, you get 75 points and so on. So let's see, we got that. Let's see. So that's the pass. If you didn't pass, you can get some points. for turning in this documentation. And this is their diagnostic report. And here they tell you there's 14 knowledge areas, and they should give you an idea of how well you did. So for this student, they did pretty well on mechanics of materials, which was a pretty important topic because they had 9 items. Notice they don't have more than 10 for any of these. So it's pretty important, and they did well on it. They just, this curve here is sort of where the average was for those students or those test takers who passed. So this person was pretty doggone close in a lot of areas, weakest in mathematics, strongest in mechanics of materials, but that'll give you an idea of where you need to study. This will give you an idea of how important they think it is, NCES thinks it is, by the number of questions there. The only things on here that you probably haven't had are going to be engineering, economics, and ethics and professional practice. We'll talk about those for a while. That's the only thing that I'm really going to teach in here. I'm not going to teach ethics. We'll just talk about that and how to answer it for the test, because I found that sometimes engineering ethics, what's so-called engineering ethics, is not really ethical, but that doesn't matter. We're just trying to pass the test. So we're going to figure out what they want us to say, and we'll say it. For engineering economics, this is more predicting future values and a little bit of tax deduction in the terms in what they call depreciation. And we'll go over that. The sum of these is only 4 questions. So these individually are the least important, but together they're important because they make up 8 questions. And I don't think that unless you've read through the stuff, you would do well on these. And this student did okay in ethics and did okay, but not really above average in either of those, but not real bad either. So you can get some points just for turning this in, but really this is a lot of good information for you as far as where you should study. The most important things to study are those with the most points, though. Okay. And I turned in these helpful YouTube videos. These, depending upon your style and what you like, some of these are going to be fantastic. You'll figure it out which type of person you really like and which type of person you really don't. I like this Jeff Hansen. He's easy to watch and interesting. But we have lots of, there's some Jeff Hansen. I should have said Hansen there. He has some engineering economic problems that he puts in there. There's page after page after page of material, free in that you have to watch a advertisement every now and then, and sometimes they're trying to sell you a program. But these are well worth watching, and most of them are far better than what I would produce. So I'm going to say go here to learn the stuff. I'll talk a little bit about engineering ethics and what they call engineering economics. Very little, but there's lots of stuff in here. Lots of YouTube videos for you to go over. When you're doing these YouTube videos, when they ask you a question, it's best to stop and solve it. But every time you solve it, what you should be using is the NCES. Okay, I'm going to go off share now and share a different site. What you want to become very, very adept at is using the NCES NCEES, what I'm going to call cheat sheet. And let's get in there and see how you can get that. So I'm just going in here. You should have in front of you FE exam with a blue background. If that's not the case, speak up, please. But let's just go in here, nces.org, and then I ask for FE exam. That puts you in here. Hopefully most of you already been there. You have some stuff you're going to have to sign, non-disclosure. You're not supposed to tell other people what's in the test. They teach you how to take the test. The exam's going to be awfully long. You will hate this, but that's what it is. You register through Ohio, probably. Ohio doesn't have any restrictions on you signing up for it. You just pay your money and you can take the test in Ohio, which isn't the case in all states. Now, there's two different tests. Well, there's a whole bunch of different tests that you can take. There's two that I would recommend that you consider: FE mechanical and FE other disciplines. And let's just go into mechanical because I presume that you're going to be in that one first. But there's these knowledge areas, and they're giving you here a clue about how many questions they're going to have on these. Let's just take ethics and professional practice. If you remember on that diagnostic sheet I showed you, they had 4 questions on that test, but they're saying we might give you as many as 6. And engineering economics, they gave you 4 questions on that one. They're saying we're going to give you somewhere 4 to 6. But this gives you an idea of how important each of these topics are. And really important here, statics, dynamics, kinematics, and vibrations. Really important, mechanics of materials, that's stress strain, more circle and the like. Let's see, I got messed up. Oh, there we are, materials, material properties and processing. Pretty doggone important, but not super important. Fluid mechanics, very important. Thermodynamics, very important. Oh, shoot. Okay, there we go. Heat transfer, not so important. Measurement and instrumentation and controls, not so important. Mechanical design and analysis, very important. So these values, or these give you an idea of what to expect. Let's go look at the other disciplines. This is passing the PE, you just pass the PE. Mathematics, there's going to be, I think, more questions. You really want to compare these side by side. We'll have some chemistry questions, instrumentation and controls, ethics. Okay, more questions in ethic, I guess. I think it was 4 to 6 on the mechanical engineering, safety, health, and environment, engineering, economics, more questions than a couple more questions, maybe 1 or 2. Okay, again, statics, dynamics, strength and materials, material properties, fluid mechanics, basic electrical engineering, thermodynamics and heat transfer. And I think that's it. Anyway, you want to sit down and think about these, which one you want to take. There's a higher passage rate on the mechanical than there is on the other disciplines, but that doesn't mean that it's a harder test. Okay. So what I'm going to put out there, I have a bunch of sample exams. So I have a practice exam for, this is for the other disciplines. Let's see, I have a practice exam for mechanical engineering. I have just somebody sold this, practice problems. You can buy these all over the place. I don't know that it's worth buying one of these, but and practical practice problems for mechanical. I'm going to put these on reserve in the Carlson Library. They're the only ones that I would pay. You don't have to pay any money for it, but that I would pay money for the ones that are put out by NCES, because I presume that they know what they write the tests, so that's who we want to listen to. The most important thing, though, I'm going to go back and share here, is that you get used to the what they call the supplied reference manual. And so let's go look at that. Exam guide. They're calling it by a different name than what I'm used to. Well, I'm going to search here. They call it the Supplied Reference Handbook. Let's see if I can find it there. Okay. Okay, they're publishing a new read more. Oh, that was back in 2015. Okay, so they haven't changed it evidently since 2015. So I'm just going to put mine up here. I have a PDF on my in my documents. I'm just going to put it up. Just a second. Let me find it. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and share. This book, you want to solve all of your practicing. I recommend you solving with this in front of you and using only this for reference, or primarily this at least. You should see in front of you a blue screen with NCEES in front of it. Is that the case? Somebody just say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. This is the cheat sheet. I call it the FE cheat sheet that you're going to have available to you during the test. And you can search it through here. I think that they'll have a search there, but I'm not sure. That is, we will have a student who passed it last spring, or maybe it was in the fall that he passed it, with specific questions. I haven't arranged an exact date that he can do a Zoom conference with us. But here's where we want to learn about stuff. Let's just go to ethics and professional practice. You should read this over, because they're going to be all of those engineering ethics are going to be based upon their model rules. That is the NCES model rules. Each state has their own rules for engineering ethics. They're assuming that their model rules are the right ones. You don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but here's the one thing you want to read. This will come off, and this is your lodestone here. Is licensees, that's professional engineers. You get a license, shall be cognizant of you're to safeguard the health, safety, and welfare of the public. And this is the guide stone of almost everything, or well, many of the questions that you're going to be asked. Just think about this. You're Your responsibility is to the health, safety, and welfare of the public. That's number one. And if you can get this down and think about this as the number one way that they're going to want to answer you, they're going to want you to answer questions. This will get you about 30% of the questions, maybe 50% of the questions. Just remembering this. But that's in there. Ethics. You want to read this over, scan it over, just to get an idea of what they're talking about. But remember, this is the most important point there. Now, there's another one that number two. What you get when you become a professional engineer is a seal or a stamp. So that's what they're talking about when they say seal. It's just to put a stamp on it, like when they cancel a stamp on the mail, they whack it. But this is a seal, or if you've ever traveled anywhere outside of the country, sometimes they'll stamp your passport. That's what they're talking about here, is this seal. And when you become a professional engineer, you get a number, and you could get this seal. I am a professional engineer. I don't have a seal because I don't ever consult or anything like that where I would need a professional engineer seal, but it's just a matter of buying one. But they only want you to use your seal on plans, surveys, or other documents that conform to acceptable engineering survey standards. And again, there it is, that safeguard the health, safety, and welfare of the public. So this, you see it again right there. That's the lodestone out there. And you'll get 30 to 50% of the engineering ethics question if you just remember this. This is your responsibility. Okay. Safety. I don't think there's any questions on safety in the mechanical engineering one. There was for the other disciplines. Mathematics. Now, one thing about the math that they have in here, there may be other symbols that are used. You should look at this and see what's in here. Get used to your time spent studying. Much of it should be getting used to what is in this cheat sheet, because the cheat sheet's only valuable if you know what's in there and how to prepare for it. Probability and statistics, probably much of this stuff is just going to be meaningless to you, but there are a few things in here, and you'll get used to as you do problems. If you're using this, what I call the FE cheat sheet, you'll get to know there's a couple lines in here that are worth knowing. Everything else is garbage. Chemistry and biology. You can, again, most of the stuff in here you don't need, but as you run across a problem in your studying that you think might be on the test, you'll see a few pages and exactly where on those pages. You want to sort of remember that. Statics, okay, you'll probably remember this better. Now, back up here on the chemistry and biology, don't worry. You don't have to know everything that's in here. Don't worry about it. All you have to do is get enough to get 70% pass, or about 70% of the questions right. I don't know that that's exactly the right number. They don't tell people, but it's about right. We have statics. You'll probably remember these, but sometimes their nomenclature is a little bit different. So you want to familiarize yourself with the nomenclature on areas that you think are going to be important. Dynamics, materials, structure, mechanics of materials. So that's going to be stress strain, Mohr circle, and they'll have Mohr circle. I'm just going to find it in here. So let's find Mohr circle in here if you forget what it is. Okay, we're getting down there. Principal stress, principal strain. There it is, Mohr circle. So you don't have to memorize Mohr circle. It's right there. You have to know how to use it, but you don't have to memorize it. It's right there. Maybe their nomenclature is a little bit different. Now, remember, some people teach Morse circle going this way is positive. Some people teach it going this way is positive. I've seen two different ways. You'll have to know which way these guys are doing it. But it's little quirky things like that there's some people have more than one way of representing it. But you'll want to know what they're talking about when you deal with Morse circle or other specific things. Thermodynamics will have different symbols in here. A lot of them will be the same, like specific volume is the same as what you had, specific enthalpy, Gibbs free energy. You didn't even handle this, I don't think, in your thermodynamics class. You don't need to know everything, but they include a lot of stuff just in case. Fluid mechanics, again, these should be common symbols that you recognize. A W here means weight, SG, specific gravity. Maybe it meant something different in your class, but they're using their nomenclature here. Oh, okay. Specific gravity is density over density of water. Okay, heat transfer, conduction, convection, radiation, etc. They just all of these things that you might need to run into. Instrumentation and controls. Okay, thermocouples, etc. You probably, most of this information you don't need to know. Engineering economics. Now, this is really embarrassing to me because my father was a banker in the early 60s, and he used interest rate tables to solve finance problems. And gosh, these guys are still using these stupid interest rate tables. He had a big book of them that he would bring home and do his homework with it. And they're still using these things in here. But I'll go over this sort of stuff. But there's plenty in the plenty of engineering economics that Hansen did in the YouTube thing. I'll let you look at those also, but I'll go over. This is the one thing that I'm going to teach a little bit on. You're going to have depreciation questions too. You're going to run across questions like here, depreciation. So you want to understand this. Well, down here to book value, depreciation and book value. You want to understand that it's really simple stuff, but you want to understand how it works. It doesn't take long at all to get it. But let's see, I want to get down to these interest rate tables. Yeah, these are these interest rate tables. Once you learn how to read these things, it's not hard to do these financial calculations. But you do need to practice these up. This is one thing that is not intuitive. And you're using 1960s technology. Isn't that nice of them? Which brings me to another point. You can't use, I have a programmable calculator here, a TI-89. You can't use these. You have to use old-fashioned calculators, essentially junk calculators. I don't see mine here. But TI-30, you want to, oh, our meeting will end in 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm not signed up for Zoom to get anything more than a 45-minute or 40-minute. So we're going to get cut off shortly. So I'm going to leave it open for questions now. Any questions? No questions? Well, I'll just keep going on, and we'll have for the next week or so, we'll have these optional classes that'll last 40 minutes. And then you're on your own. You could contact me with questions, but I'm just going to emphasize it again. I emphasize it in the letters that I sent you over break. If you got those, the number one, what is the number one goal of or objective of this class? Anybody just spout it out. What's the number one overwhelming objective in this class? And it's different from every other class that you'll have. Anybody, what is it?
Pass the test.
Pass the test. That's it. I am teaching to the test. I am not trying to teach you engineering or help you in your career other than it's to pass the test. That's it. You pass the test at least before May-ish or the end of April. Essentially, you have an A in the class. You can work it out that you get an A-, but that's it. Pass the test, and you deserve an A or A-. You have to do a few other little things to get the A, but that's it. And you will pass the class if you turn in your worksheet showing me that you've had effort along the way. You take the exam and you do at least fairly well on the exam. But even if you flunk, you can pass the test or pass the class. But you're not going to get a grade that you will be proud of or you want to send home to grandma. But I'm not gonna fail you. But there's a big difference. You get a good grade in this class if you pass the test. You don't get a good grade if you don't pass the test. And that may sound draconian, but there's one objective. There is one objective in this class and only one primary objective, and that's to pass the test. You pass the test, you got an A, or almost an A. Maybe an A-, but it's unless you've done nothing